Welcome to the Kerry Barrett Show. I'm Kerry Barrett.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Kerry Barrett Show. Joining us today is Stetson Patton. She is the founder of Socially Stetson, and she's the master of all things social media, whether it is consulting, strategy, management, speaking on it, the whole 9 yards. She manages my Instagram account and some other things as well. Stetson, I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I know that the audience will get a ton out of it. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I know we are new to working on your account, but we've had so much fun looking at all of your past content from your fun life. So you're a fun client to work for just because you have so much already in video content. It makes it nice.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes, I do have a lot. And people often try and put me into a strategist or a video marketer. And while I do have experts that come in and teach those things in my program, I'm a coach. I'm an on-camera coach. I teach people how to deliver well on camera. And yes, for social, absolutely 100%, but also it's long form videos. And maybe you have a media opportunity on broadcast, and maybe you want to use video in sales, or you're doing live streams or whatever. So there's a whole host of applications that leverage the lens, if you will, for, audience growth and for visibility and for opportunity and authority and all of that stuff. But when people come to me and say, I know I should be doing video, but I have done it a few times before and I hate myself. I don't like what I sound like. I look like crap. I'm awkward, or I'm too scared to even try. I walk them through the process. You, on the other hand, you had no problem showing up on camera. You pump out reels on Instagram and content everywhere else. How did you get to where you are with that comfort level?
So I call myself a serial entrepreneur because I've owned several businesses. And right when Instagram came out, I, at the time, owned a brick and mortar store, a boutique, a clothing store. And so it's where I learned a ton of my business skills, the to-dos and a ton of what not to-dos. But that was right when Instagram came out, and that's kind of when influencer marketing came about, because all these beautiful model looking women were coming and posing and with their aesthetic coffee and their aesthetic clothes. And we knew that was a great way to sell our clothes. But I never felt comfortable posing like that in pictures, even though I knew I was supposed to do it. So when people come to me and they're like, I know I'm supposed to do it, but I don't feel comfortable. For me, I learned it's how do you make it comfortable? So back in 2010, I was just not posting the aesthetic things. I was stepping outside of the box and just showing my behind the scenes, my real life, and posing in clothes and just saying I don't have a pretty aesthetic for this. So I was very fortunate when video did hit the scene with reels and really in stories. And I think that's where my audience really got to know me more, because I immediately was great. People will get to know me and who I am. I don't have to try to be aesthetic and pretty, because I felt like once people got to know me, they would like me, or at least, or not like me, who knows, but they could make a decision on it. And so for me, I felt more comfortable on video than I did in pictures. And I think a lot of that comes from, and you and I've had this conversation, I did grow up in musical theater. And on stage, my dad was a football coach and used to make me sing the national anthem before football games. And so I did not have a choice of just being thrown into the public eye. And so I do think a lot of my experience comes to that. And that's why I tell people, don't have a comparison trap mindset. A lot of people don't know that I was in musical theater. They have no clue that I used to sing in large stadiums. They don't know that. All they see is, wow, she looks so comfortable on camera, but they don't know any of the background that led me up to that comfort zone.
They're comparing your chapter 20 when, oh, by the way, chapter 1 started way back when you were a toddler, it sounds
Yes,
like.
4 years old.
Yeah, to their chapter 1, which may be unfolding when they're in their 20s or 30s. And
Yeah.
I'm so appreciative of you mentioning that it wasn't just something that like, hey, I suddenly turned on a camera when I started owning a business. And all of a sudden I was this, very comfortable and natural and real, authentic person on camera. There are a handful of people in the world who are natural performers. Now, we don't have to be like Meryl Streep or Daniel Day-Lewis, but that element of being able to just speak and communicate, it doesn't come naturally to most people. And most people do hate it. That's why there's such a fear of public speaking. Now you've got like the on-camera component and the public speaking. So I have to speak and then I have to look at myself and see how many people didn't watch me.
It's awful. It's awful.
Combination of these two like terrible storms. I really do appreciate it. I feel like that helps people understand that like it takes a little time, it takes a little practice, but with the right practice and with the right guidance, you can do whatever, whether it's Reels or whether it's YouTube or podcast or a live stream or, show up on NBC News if you want to talk about yourself on camera one day in that way. Let me sort of take that comfort level and the fact that, you've had it for a long time and apply your process for showing up on camera and the strategy that you create reels or that you create stories. Like you batch, not everybody does, but your process is probably different than some of your clients' process. Talk to us if you can about your process for batching, your system for getting all of this out there.
Okay, so I am part of the Socially Stetson business is being a social media manager. So I will say that my personal content and strategy is very different from how I do my clients. My clients are way more organized with their social media than I will ever be. And I like have a dream of having that organization for myself. I always compare it to like cleaning your house.
Mm-hmm.
We all can clean our own home, but it's going to take me so much longer and it's not going to be done as well as if I hired a professional cleaner to do it. For example, I tried like cleaning and mopping, like without a Swiffer. I used a real mop the other day and I wanted to throw the mop away because then I was like, well, how do I wash the mop? I had so many questions and I just was like, nope. Oh gosh. I was like, this role is not for me. So for me, I batch sometimes. I do feel like I struggle with adult ADHD a lot. And so I get very hyper focused on things. But I've tried to learn to use that for my good. So when I get hyper focused on maybe playing around in Canva and working with some templates, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm doing this right now, if this is what I want to do, I am going to be hyper focused and create a bunch of content that are just static posts maybe. And then I'll go ahead and schedule those out for Monday. So a system that my team and I have, and I really truly tell people this system because it will make your life easier. We try to always have carousel post or static post on Mondays and Fridays. The reason being is I wanted to create a culture for my team where they didn't have to worry about work on Mondays and Fridays or like, did this post. We want to go ahead and have Mondays and Fridays scheduled. One, because Mondays are a great day when you're catching up on emails, you're prepping work for the rest of the week or the rest of the month. And then also Fridays, Friday Fun Day. We want to go out. That's usually when our team meets together for coffee. And we have coffee and co-working days where we're creating content and brainstorming and we're talking about the clients and just kind of communicating with each other. So we know that every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is usually video days. Those are the Reels days. Those are the content creation days. Those are the meat and potatoes. So we want Mondays and Fridays to be light, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays to be heavier. For myself though, Kerry, I am a very fly by the seat type of person, but I am that way because I know I can pump out a reel in 3 seconds because of practice and all the things. So, and I love showing up in my stories. My stories are where I get real personal and I love the community on social media, and stories I think is where you really hone in on the friendships and that
Mhm.
community that you build.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about stories in a second. I want to put a pin on that. I want to go back to what you talked about in terms of like, these are our carousels or still images. In the middle of the week is where we do video. There was a period of time where Instagram was like still posts and whatnot were getting like zero reach. They just dropped off a cliff. And they were really video forward. Video is still important, but it's not as important on Instagram as it used to be, right? That trend has changed a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, I think Instagram's known as the platform to copy. So they copied Snapchat when stories came out,
Mhm.
and people thought they were crazy and thought that everybody would stay on Snapchat. They didn't. Stories
Mhm.
really excelled. Then they copied TikTok with the short form videos and came out with reels, and people thought they were funny and thought people would stay on TikTok, and they didn't. People love Instagram reels. But the difference between like Twitter, which is just a text thread,
Mhm.
Instagram just launched that too. They have threads now, which is
Yeah.
their text threads, but now so did TikTok. I think where TikTok is messing up is I think they should just stay short form video. I don't think they need to be like Instagram. Instagram is that platform that is known to see what works on others, copy it, and come with it. They've realized, and what I've realized as a social media manager is just that people like Instagram for what it is. They still like the pictures. They still like the carousels. Carousels do extremely well, and stories have great conversions. And so I tell people it's like baking a cake. You know, there's a ton of ingredients that go into this platform. Are you using all of the ingredients? Because Kerry, I will tell you, when I go public speak and I meet people and I say, okay, raise your hand if you feel like you're an expert at Facebook or you know Facebook really well, or even Instagram, they raise your hand. And then I ask them a list of questions. I say, great. How many of you own your own group on Facebook? How many of you have a live strategy session? How many of you have guides set up? How many of you are doing this? And I'm naming all of the tools that Facebook has.
Mhm.
And then they're like, okay, maybe I'm not a Facebook expert, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
So I tell people to get really good at one. Like, get really, really good at one, whether that's YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook. Do you need a presence on all of them? Absolutely. Yeah, the
Right.
omnipresence of you want your client to find you where they are. So you might have a client, one of my really good friends that I just met. I say really good friend. We did meet a few months ago. She found me through my podcast and we became like besties instantly. But she was telling me when I asked her on the podcast, I said, so what are you binge watching right now? Is a fun thing. I was like, what are you watching? She was like, YouTube. And I was like, oh, I do not watch YouTube, but that's
YouTube. Yeah.
her thing. So she's finding people on YouTube. I find people on Instagram.
Yeah.
Other people find people on Facebook. So your clients are everywhere. And I'm discovering more and more the younger generation is on Facebook and Instagram. I don't know why we have a misconception that they're not. I know statistically there are more young people on TikTok.
Yeah.
But they are still trying to get on Facebook to grow their businesses now because
Absolutely.
they're in their 20s. They're becoming entrepreneurs right out of college because why not? And they're now trying to learn the platform. They don't know Facebook like we do. I'm the millennial who was in college when Facebook came out. So I know it way more than they do.
That makes great sense. And I want to take what you just mentioned and I want to you talked about like meet them where they are. And this maybe is, well, let me start with this. Is there a social media funnel? You know, you go from short form discoverability, to a longer form for trust building, to a live stream for engagement. And then you have your awareness and your interest and your desire. And then down at the bottom, you're closing them with, maybe it's a certain ad with a specific call to action or something. Is there a social media funnel? And how do you set that?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked this because this is kind of what you and I were talking about the other day. And this is where you grab that notebook, you grab your pen and a sheet of paper, and you just sit down and you say, you have to take each customer experience. So let's use TikTok, for example. You say, okay, great. I just got a new follower on TikTok, or, somebody's interested in my content on TikTok. What do I want their customer experience to look like? So do I want the next platform to be my email marketing list? Do I want them to go to a YouTube channel, which I feel like is what the majority of TikTok is doing right now? They are saying, for more information on this, go check out my YouTube. So
Yeah.
TikTok is a great funnel into YouTube. Instagram right now is a great funnel into email list or to the conversions because you can promote so much in your stories with the links and webinars and stuff like that. So that's a great place. And so is Facebook. So I think it's understanding where your audience is on each. So I usually tell people TikTok is the best place to find new clients, new faces, people who are unaware of who you are. And then what does that journey want to look like? Instagram is a really good place to continue to build that like, know, and trust. For example, I had a conversation with a girl this morning. She did not even know I offered a membership or the social trend, but she goes, but I've received so much valuable information just from following you on Instagram. And that made me feel good. So that felt really good. And then Facebook is the place where you really nurture that community, whether it's through a group, whether it's through just engagement in general. So just kind of knowing that. And I think this is a fun statistic, on people's websites, the social icons at the bottom, like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, 98% of people click on Instagram first.
Interesting.
And I know I do, but I think it's because Instagram is still the only platform that is just a quick visual. People can just look at it in 3 seconds. It has like pretty much your bio is a business card up top. And they can just look to see, are you actively using it? Is it aesthetically pretty? Aesthetics do still matter no matter what people say. To me, they do. And like, are you posted? Like, are you doing anything on it? I found a page the other day and just went and looked. And I was like, well, they haven't posted anything since 2021. So I decided not to follow them, even though I liked their content. But I was like, that would be a waste of my time to follow them. They're not posting.
They may not even be around anymore for all you know. Yeah, with that.
Exactly.
Like
but I did find their page through a hashtag.
Interesting. So now the second part of that question maybe, and this is, I think anyway, my question is Instagram specific. How do you use Instagram for like funnel creation in and of itself? And I guess what I'm actually asking when I say that is, and I apologize.
No, this is great. It's open conversation. I love it.
Is it, and I'm making it up, reels are great for discoverability. Carousel posts are great for learning. Still images are great for, when this sort of engagement or call to action. Stories are where you go when you want to convert people who are already followers and you're always posting videos that like, what type of content is conducive to certain, goals that you have with that particular post or that particular video?
Have you ever heard like in real life, somebody needs to be layered 6 or 7 times before they convert that conversion, I guess? Online, it's 36 to 37 times.
Okay.
So I think that's important to know. I heard this in a marketing class one time. From follower to conversion on Instagram is usually 4 to 6 months, depending on the person. There are very few people that are like, yep, I'm signing up for that course. You may see an ad or something for a course for 2 years before you sign on to it, but it's that repetitiveness. So here's the thing, again, using all the ingredients, but I tell the people who aren't posting daily and don't have a clear message of what you're talking about. I'll use myself, for example. I can't just talk about Instagram tips without a strong call to action. If I'm doing those Instagram tips, I better be leading them into my Instagram course, for example, that I have. Now, right now, I'm not promoting the Instagram course, so I'm not doing a ton of Instagram tips. Right now, I'm focusing on the social trend, which is a subscription I have with trending audio. So what I'm doing and what I'm talking about, what I'm posting about is the importance of using trending audio, why trending audio works. I'm showing analytics of clients' accounts that I've used trending audio for. I am sharing customer results in my stories on that. So I think it's not necessarily about what you're doing. I think it's about the message that you're giving. So
Mhm.
in every single one of those posts, I'm not saying sign up for my social trend, sign up for the social trend. I'm still giving my audience like, hey, this is why this is important. And then later I will be blowing up my stories with a series of asking questions and conversions. Conversions, I will say, do happen in the stories and DMs.
Is there a cadence for like, value sell, like posting wise? I'm posting, I don't know, 5 posts that are value or inspirational or whatever. And then I'm doing like a pitch, whether it's an actual hard pitch to a product or whether it's a sign up for my newsletter or my podcast or whatever. Or is it dependent upon, you have a launch going on or you have how do you bring all those elements together?
So I think it's a lot of trial and error. Here, I'm pulling up a slide that I made because I have taught this I have what's called a 13-day selling strategy in my membership. And basically, it is a formula for 13 days that
Okay.
I have found works for me. I know some other people who can convert really high levels in 8 days,
Mhm.
but I feel like they're running ads. So I will
Mhm.
say ads help with that conversion. Let me see if I can find it real quick. 13-day social selling strategy. So it starts with the awareness, like
Mhm.
awareness of what you're doing. That always needs to be the first post. Let's say you have a course coming up that
Mhm.
you're about to launch and sell. You need to be promoting that a minimum of 2 weeks out.
Okay.
And I say this because the average person, if you're posting every day for 2 weeks, the average person might only see 2 to 3 posts that you
Yeah.
post just on the way that the algorithms run. So I think people get so frustrated, they'll promote something for 1, maybe 3 days, and then they're so sad with the turnout or the conversion. And I'm like, well, you didn't even promote it long enough to
Yeah.
give people the awareness. And email marketing is a huge strategy with that too. But it starts with the awareness. I always like to do like some kind of early bird special or like some, if you sign up
Mhm.
to do this. And then it is more awareness, then it's bringing value. So it is that funnel, that pyramid, and you can Google this on Google, but you can look up sales funnel and awareness, and then it gets all the way down to decision making time. And this is important. You have to tell people like time is running out. You have to put that deadline on it. And it's so important to stick with that deadline. So even if somebody messages you the next day, and you say, I am so sorry. They won't wait again. You put them on a waiting list. So you have to, and I don't care if you just had one person sign up and the second one wants, and it is the standards that you're setting for your launch and your strategy.
Mhm.
So I do teach on that in my membership. It's called the 13-day sales strategy. I know some people have a 3-day sales launch, 8-day. For me, it's that 2 weeks of really doing that. And I do think this is important to know too. When you're doing these types of posts, they do not get a lot of user engagement.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Much lower, right? Much lower.
much lower. So conversion posts are going to look not as pretty and glamorous as entertainment post.
Mhm.
Entertainment. That's why people are like, oh, I got all these views on my dumbest reel. I'm like, yeah, because it was entertaining, but you're not going to get conversions from it. You
Yeah.
may have even received a lot of followers from it. They're not going to convert. They followed you for something funny. So the conversion post, although people might not be commenting, sharing, liking, they're looking. And it's important to have that strategy.
Got it. It's all part of the process. And you're right. Like you may get a ton of followers, but they're following you for value and they liked what you said. And they're not ready for a hard sell yet, right? They may
Right.
look, they're not clicking or sharing or whatever. I mean, it's interesting you say that. I look at people who have, hundreds of thousands of followers on their Instagram and their posts, no matter what they are, get massive amounts of engagement. And then I'll see them run an ad and it's like crickets in the comments. I know they're having success with them because I see their programs
Mhm.
or heck, I may join their programs, but you're right. It's a different metric. And I'm glad that you brought that up because that part can be incredibly frustrating and you wonder if you're doing it right. I struggle with that all the time, frankly. Before I
But
met you.
But here's what I think it helps too
Yeah.
is coming up with that strategy because it does help with burnout. Because so like right now, I feel like for me, I'm going to constantly promote my social trend right now until I have a big launch for my Instagram on course or a big launch for something else. So I'm just going to be lightly sprinkling that in. So right now I'm not doing a huge launch. I'm just semi talking about it. And I am just sprinkling in more entertainment, more education, stuff like that. But when you do a hard launch, that's when you get exhausted. Like that's when you're planning, that's when you're content creating, that's when you're doing it. And then you can enjoy it later. Like you can take a 3-day break off of social media after a big launch and it doesn't matter, so you can take those social media breaks.
Right. And it doesn't kill you. Consistency is not necessarily posting every day. It's figuring out what you can do if you're doing it on your own, for example, and then sticking to it. Yes.
Yes, even if it's so, I will say Adam Missouri, he's the head of Instagram, CEO of Instagram. He has said Instagram favors accounts that post a minimum of 2 times a week. So that's what I tell people. If the head of Instagram says, hey, we're showing you if you're at least posting 2 times a week, then I'm not going to listen to myself or anybody else's strategy. The head of Instagram just said it.
Yeah. You don't have to post 4 times a day.
Right.
Stories are something else entirely. I know that those are the preference is to do that. If you really are interested in growth, it's quite frequent, correct?
It is. Stories can be as frequent as you want them to. And we schedule a lot of stories out for some of our clients. So some of our clients pay for like a daily story. And so that's important just because even if you're out of town, let's use your account, for example, if you're out of town on vacation, you're still showing up in your stories at least one time. You're at least showing up in that bubble feed. And then hopefully our goal for all of our clients is they don't worry about their post as much because they focus on their stories.
And stories, and just to be clear, like stories can be used for anyone. It doesn't have to be a personal brand or an individual. I mean, it could be corporate even. It's not as highly produced. I mean, yes, you can do all sorts of things with them if you opt to, but literally you can also just open up your phone and like share something that's going on. It's a lot of documentation, yes, rather than
it's like a vlog. It really is like a vlog, which is honestly the content that we're seeing do well over on TikTok. So usually a strategy I tell people for your TikTok content, pretend like it's an Instagram story. Just hop on there and start talking. That's what people like. And then it really is just that behind the scenes look of your life. Hi. Hi there.
Benjamin, make your podcast debut.
You're so cute.
Okay, let mommy talk. Here's the phone.
How old are you, Benjamin?
6.
Oh my goodness. I have a nephew who's 7. I bet y'all would be good friends.
All right. Peace out, little man. I don't know whether to keep this part in or edit it out, but
I 100% think you should keep it in. Look, that would be great behind the scenes. We'll use it. Use the clip. It's like a blooper podcast reel. And I think that's important. It actually works out. It's real life. It shows people what's actually going on, where we're not just perfect. It is our authentic self. I know you. I know that your family does come first. And so that just shows more of the human side of us. And I think people laugh at me because right now, like my hair and makeup's done. I have my jewelry on, a nice outfit, but I show up in my stories all the time, like looking rough. And I think part of from like owning the boutique, I felt like I had to look perfect all the time. I felt like because I was selling beauty and fashion, I just felt like I had to be on 24/7. Yeah. Which you probably felt in the news industry too.
All the time. Yep.
And so to me, it is so freeing to be able to just show up, no makeup, hair done. And I have more women come up to me and say, oh, I love that you do that. I wish I could do that. And I'm like, you can.
You can.
But they don't feel comfortable doing it. But guess what? That's what they know about me is, do I feel self-conscious? Absolutely. Do I like the way I look without hair and makeup and loungy, not matching pajamas? Absolutely not. Do I want to empower more people that is normal? Yes. So that's why I do it.
I love it. And I'm going to just share a quick story with you as well before I jump into where the future of social is going. I used to record every single video I did. Like I was in my news anchor clothes and my nice dresses and everything was tailored. And I still wear my lashes, but and I'm sitting in my sunroom or like on my porch in like a pretty much a suit. The two don't. And by the way, most of my audience isn't watching these videos sitting in a suit either. So why am I showing up in a way that is not meeting my audience where they are and is not conducive to wherever I'm shooting? I am so appreciative of you mentioning that because I've dialed down the way that I show up in terms of my clothing. Like I'm wearing a t-shirt now. And I was really honestly nervous about that for quite a long time. But I think it makes content more real. It makes it less difficult to produce and less time consuming. And people really they appreciate that, I think.
I actually had a mentor one time tell me not to show up on camera without makeup. She was like, nobody wants to see that. And I was like, how rude. Like, okay, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. And then you fired her immediately. All right, let's talk about two topics I want to get to before we wrap up. One is the future of social. Where is it going? What are the trends that you're seeing? And how are people incorporating AI, I guess good and bad, produce content with less effort, more of it, et cetera, et cetera. So trends, future AI.
I think right now for trends, like where I see the future of social media going, I think you need to become really good at one of two things. If you can become really good at both, that'd be great. But one, get really good at video editing if you're not yet, or hire a video editor because the transitions and the cool things and even the things with AI are making videos more engaging. So either one, become really good at video editing, and this is not going to be my path. This is not the path that I'm going down. The one I am going down is number 2, and that's to become a really good storyteller. Because even the trends on TikTok, like I said, and TikTok is leading the trends on all the other platforms, is to tell stories.
Yeah.
Tell your life, tell your stories, and be authentic. And so to me, that's easier than learning all of these AI and video editing tools. Now, granted, I am going to dabble in that education. It's my job. But I would rather focus on storytelling.
Yeah.
So I think you have to become great at one or the other. Where AI can be good and bad, I've been using AI. I think a lot of people don't realize, like, we've had AI for years. We are just in an AI boom, a surge where there is now just multiple AI tools.
Yeah.
And so I think they're great. There are certain AI tools that are completely helping my efficiency with my business. I have not had to let anybody go because of AI. I am teaching them how to use AI to make their jobs more, efficient as well. Yeah. So then I can take on more clients or take on more work, or to rest more, to not take on more clients and more work. So I think AI is good that way. Now, I could go down a full rabbit hole of how dangerous social media and AI actually are. And it can be really scary and cause a lot of fear. But as a Christian, in the Bible, it says, do not fear 365 times. So one for every day of the year. And that is just what I have to remind myself, is that God knew AI was coming. Is it dangerous? Yes. Can it be really scary? Yes. But I need to live a life of joy and not a life of fear. And that's just the path that I'm choosing to go down when it comes to AI, and how can I use it for good. And my podcast, I say I'm your online social light because it is a faith-based podcast. And that's what I'm trying to do, is teach people how to use some of these tools for good and not for evil. And that's just, I'll get off my soapbox there, but I think it can be used for good. I think we have a lot of evil people out there who will do it for bad. And there are certain things that we can be aware of, like turning off precise location on your phone. So if you don't know this and you have your phones, pick them up now. You can have your location on, but they launched something new recently, even for Instagram, where it can do your precise location. So instead of just saying, hey, I am in this part of Charlotte, North Carolina, it would ping my exact address, and hackers know how to find that. And that's where You just need to know some of the things to look out for.
I'm so appreciative of you mentioning that. And I also want to share, you're right. There are lots of ways, whether it's like caption creating or, figuring out what your hashtags are. Now there is a limitation though. And I want to say that AI could get you like part of the way there, but I notice even as I'm creating, landing page content or whatever, it is beginning to get a little bit more generic because it's compiling from more people. It gets more watered down and more watered down. I truly believe that really the only way to make an authentic, real connection that is, someone with a heart that's beating inside of them is with a face and a voice on a camera. It's with video. And I use AI too, but that real connection, the video, wherever it is, whether it's on Instagram or it's on YouTube or you use it in sales videos, like that element will never go away.
Have you read the book Platonic?
No.
I'm looking it up right now. I can't think of the author's name. It's about the science of attachment. So she is an author. I don't know if this is it, so I won't say it, but Platonic. She studies the brain and psychology. And something she said that was super interesting to me was when you meet somebody face to face, toe to toe, and you're looking them in their eye, there is a certain part of your brain that activates and lights up. Well, new scientific studies have shown when I'm watching somebody on video, that same part, a small part of that brain still lights up and causes a connection, an immediate connection of trust. And so for anybody who's been on social media for a while and showing up in your stories, I sometimes meet people in person and I'm like, have I met you in real life before? I don't know, because I feel like I already know you. And it's really how strong friendships are bonded, but it's also scientific that people will like and trust you more when they can see you face to face and hear your voice on camera.
100%. I will put a bow on that statement. I'd love to talk to you for longer. I don't have time, but we'll have to bring you back for another episode if you're up to it. Before you go, I imagine if I ask you, where should we find you? One of the places is certainly going to be on Instagram. But tell us where people can find you if they'd like to follow you, learn more about you, see how they might be able to work with you. And then is there anywhere you'd like to send them as well? Is there something you'd like them to check out, a resource or something like that they should look at too?
Absolutely. So you can find me on most all platforms at Stetson K Patton. That's just what it is. And if you search socially Stetson, you might be able to find me. On Facebook, it's a little bit harder because I have some old hacked accounts that I will never probably be able to get back into. So Instagram and TikTok are probably the best places. Probably the number one thing would be my podcast, Socially Stetson. It's on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. That is where I'm showing up weekly as well to go over social trends and then also to shine a light on the online digital world.
You are fantastic, Stetson. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'll definitely would love to come back.
Awesome.